Now we're rolling. All right. Welcome back to another episode of A Businessman's Guide to Almost Everything, the show where I, your host, Kole Berzenji, get to sit down with interesting folks from a myriad of fields. We got to take a look at what they do, what makes them tick, and some of the fears that they face on their day-to-day lives. So with me today, you're someone new. Would you introduce yourself, what you do, and where you're from?
Yeah. My name is Alex Hutchi. I'm a creative consultant. And currently, I work with a private chef, and I'm able to film food content and go to really fun parties in Seattle. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. Yeah.
So creative consultant, that sounds kind of ambiguous. So what does your day-to-day tasks look like?
Yeah, so working with a small business owner one-to-one, a lot of that is really understanding what they've been doing with their marketing and their messaging. So when I first met Shada, who's the chef, she was mostly going off of word of mouth. And of course, that works because great food speaks for itself. But you have some business owners that are very curious about how to be online. So I have a background of just always making content, writing, scripting, as well as like building communities online. So being able to take that from working in a very much like corporate setting to now working with small business owners, a lot of it was just understanding how can we tell the stories of what you are doing, but in a way that matches what people are looking for when it comes to finding a community online or finding your services online. So a lot of it is helping business owners who are offline, I would say, get more online so that they make content that not only looks visually appealing, but also is very much like advertisement as well. So being able to blend the both advertisement and storytelling.
It's the kind of work that did not exist 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely not. No. Who knew that, coding MySpace pages to now being able to edit with your smartphone is now the, hottest thing. And a lot of it is very much like self-taught, but I think the biggest thing is that you have to also like really love like the people aspect, like knowing like how is this person going to find my work online, and think in a reverse way of like how can I make it as simple as possible, even though you know a ton about your industry, a ton about what you do professionally. How do you just make it so that it is entertaining and appealing? Or even if it's an industry that is not as like entertaining but more informative, there still are ways that you can connect with people.
Yeah, no kidding. So let's take a look at how you got into this field, because something tells me when you were an 8-year-old lad, this was not the future that you envisioned originally.
No, I would say I was always creative. And so I first got started with like YouTube. That was something that YouTube was just becoming a thing when I was in college. And I was like, this is interesting. Like I can film, I can put it online. And so I had several different YouTube channels, from like either gaming to like just giving advice, like documenting just being in design school. But none of them really like took off. And I guess it wasn't like an in-demand like skill where people were advertising to hire YouTubers. So fast forward a few years, I had jobs in the fashion industry, then got into working to tech. And that segue was pretty much just, I love trending topics and culture. So being able to focus on like youth culture, and as well as like what's the latest trend in tech. A lot of young people are online, they're using new technology. So getting into tech was very much like a seamless transition. And so I think what really kind of helped me bridge the gap between how to be a creative consultant and also help like local businesses as well as like online companies was really understanding the tools to like find these audiences. So living in a bigger city, like I was living in LA at some point, I was living in New York, was able to travel around the world, just being able to speak and host parties and like be around people. It really kind of helped me understood like, what's sort of like trending. And I think that is a lot of fun to jump on trends, but I also think helping business owners be able to develop their voice online, that really just sets them up for success of feeling confident when speaking on camera, or confident when deciding what should be priority when it comes to marketing.
So the kind of material that you're then putting out, obviously there's a melding of your passions and the needs that businesses have. So the marketing material that you're putting out, is it fair to say that this is effectively awareness campaign material?
Yeah, it's very much that. And I guess technically in the marketing, it's top of funnel. So you're really looking at sort of the value that you bring to people. So whether it's you save them time, you save them money, it's more efficient for them. It could be anything that you see as like sort of the value. So these are like kind of like the testimonials. So that'll be kind of like the first question I'll ask is like, when I'm working with a new business owner is like, what do people like rave about you? Like, what is like their favorite experience? And a lot of that can be broken down into like a story of like, when does someone need a private chef? It could be for a business that is celebrating a milestone. It could be a family that's celebrating a get together. And those are experiences that the business owner has had and completed successfully. But now how do we create that into content that tells that story again and again so that other people see the need of like, oh yeah, I never thought about having a chef for an at-home cooking class, yet they see like the chef making their favorite dish from their favorite movie. And it's just all kinds of like creative ways that I will like hear stories of like successful businesses and turn them into content that is not only engaging for an audience, but also fun for the business owner to share their story.
So one of the things that we've run into a lot, because we offer our own digital marketing services to other businesses in our area, and we've had some really lovely success. But one of the questions we get a lot is people are like, hey, we want to make these videos. Sure, let's make some videos. And we're going to do them in this style. We can make them this way. We'll produce this many. And then eventually it gets to the point where they say, okay, but how many leads is this going to generate?
That is a great question. And I think good content or with enough experience, you can have both things happen. You can have leads and also an account that grows. Now, getting the right shift in the mindset, that takes time. And that's really where consultants like us come into the coaching aspect. So I feel like 99% of the job is coaching the business owner to get them to see that, yes, this is working, even though it's not as something as like you can't calculate it as much as being like, oh yeah, we got like 2 leads from this like 100 views, like not exactly. But I do think that there are a lot of awareness campaigns that can invite people into what the business has to offer. So that's when you have your newsletter, your email. That's when you also are partnering with other businesses in the area and like showcasing them in the videos. And I think that even if the videos aren't on like the actual service, it could also become a destination for people in the community to know about your industry. So I think that there's a lot of ways to kind of work around the strengths of the business owner, because some business owners are naturally very outgoing. They like to be on camera. They like that center of attention, which is amazing to work with. And then there's some that really want to focus on like the impact that their business is doing and the legacy that they're building. And I think that there's definitely space for both. But when it comes to like learning the skill of how to, find the make money button online, that is something we're all trying to crack. But I think the biggest thing is that it's helping the business owner understand that it's really the kind of the inner work of like, I'm now adopting something new. Because you even think about when newspaper ads probably came around, people were probably hesitant on that. Or like, why do I need to buy a print ad, Yeah. So this is kind of like our version of like, why do I need to make a video when it's like, yes, everyone else is doing it. But I think the biggest thing is like helping business owners discover, how do you do it for yourself? Like, how do you make it work for you? And I think that's like very rewarding, very challenging, but also just like so amazing when you finally get like a good content format, a good editing stream, a good like places that you like to film or where they naturally come alive, like when they talk to people, like that is amazing to watch that transformation through a consulting experience.
So one of the things that I remember a fella asked once, and again, it's continuing with that theme of, well, how do I generate leads? How do I generate money since I'm investing sometimes a lot of money into these awareness campaign videos? Like, yeah, you know what? That's a fair question, because in awareness campaign videos, you're probably not going to want to include a link to say, hey, also buy my service.
True.
There are times where that's applicable.
Very true.
But you know what? More often than not, what those social media profiles that grow, they're growing because people want to watch them. And when they're coming to watch them, they're often coming for certain things, whether that is entertainment or information, or they just want to be kept up to date on certain changes. And one of the things that's really valuable is that once these things grow to such a capacity that you become that authority in that field, whether that's locally or nationally, people are going to look to you when they're eventually ready to buy the product.
That's so true. I think that there are many goals that people could have, yet you have to focus on kind of two at a time. I would say not just one, but two at a time. Because you can have great content and not be getting leads. That happens. I see that quite a bit when I'm, consulting people. You could have a very small account and get leads because you spend time with quality. And I think that that's really the biggest thing that I help people with is how do you get quality content so it's not just this hamster wheel of like put out 100 videos and they all don't lead to anything. It's really about understanding how long is it going to take us to make this video to get the impact that we're looking for. Because a video that somebody can film for 16 seconds could go viral, and that's like, the thing that brings in their next like big win. Or it's a video that took several hours and it kind of fizzles, or it completely goes, to the moon as well. So it's like, it really just depends. But I think it's the amount of effort that you put in doesn't always equal like the reward, and that really throws people off. But I do think that if you read books by like making funnels, like Russell Brunson books, I'm trying to think of like all the marketing books. Like I think I picked up every single marketing book I could when I first got started with like making content and understanding conversion. Those books really help you understand like how to convert traffic. And that's a whole like paid ads game, which I love. Paid advertisement, Facebook ad, Instagram ads, Google, they all still work. It's really about understanding how to do the research first. And that's where I think a lot of people kind of miss the mark or don't have the patience with. Like if you really deep dive research on like either your, geographic area, or you're really focusing on like who you're serving, and take like more time researching than just producing the content, I do feel like a lot of people are a lot more successful with having a better outcome. But that's the point of hiring a consultant. Like we study this stuff. I love like diving into analytics or like watching the top, creators in a certain industry just to like reverse engineer, like, how did they script that? What was the hook on that? How long was that video? What were the visuals? Like, I love that stuff. That's why I love what I do. But I should say for a business owner, they're running a business, and that's entirely like their main focus. And for creative consultants or content creators, we're making content. So it's like we're online a lot, and we're balancing that with also running our businesses. And that's why I think it's really good to partner with creators, because you'll have that balance of like, how do you make content but not have to spend your hours to like learn that, when you can work with creators or make some fair like trade in which, it works out where both people are learning and earning. But yeah, I mean, paid ads really are the way to go if you're trying to like, make money. But once again, it's like YouTube University. You're going to have to like pay to like learn that skill. But once you learn it, you can take it anywhere. You can apply it to anything. You can test any idea. And I think that's something that a lot of people have to kind of wrap their head around that. It's like, you spending this $50 to test an idea versus spending 100 hours going in the wrong direction. So sometimes it's like, how do you use that tool to like help you test an idea versus, going in the wrong direction or not talking to the right people.
No, and I love that you brought up the point that hard work does not necessarily equal success when it comes to, anything on the internet.
Yeah.
I remember one that happened recently was we help represent a farmer's insurance agent, and our big thing is that he's the biggest farmer's insurance agent in Washington. So it's a pretty big claim. We make a bunch of videos for him, and they do well. They do respectable. It's a modest following because it's still growing. But I remember there was one short. Wasn't a special short, but it was the one short that kind of got a little bit viral. Got like 250,000 views. Wonderful. What's it about? Oh, he's talking about something controversial in insurance, and everyone's just hating on him. He's getting like death threats and all this. So very funny from an outside perspective. But I'm looking at this as a producer, and I'm going, that one? You tell me that was the one that got in? Didn't have an especially interesting hook as far as I could tell, but I don't know, maybe it did. Maybe the algorithm works in mysterious ways. At the end of the day, sometimes you just got to throw your hands in the air and say, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes being the most human online oftentimes is what works, because we're all human, you know? And that's That's why I don't take it too seriously yet. It's very serious. Like
Yes.
it's very serious.
It's
you
business.
know? Yeah. But I think just having a life of, working with people and meeting people throughout the different stages in their business, I think it's amazing to see so many business owners grasp sort of building their business online or becoming personalities in their cities or starting new ventures or even just documenting their journey, which I feel like all of us should do, because that's just a really great way of something for you to look back on and to see like, okay, this is where I was like 30 days ago, or however much you want to challenge yourself. Like people love to follow a good like challenge series, or I'm gonna go do something and be the human guinea pig and everybody watch. Like I think that's kind of like the fun element of the internet, is just seeing people like go for it and like everybody's sharing them all in the comments. Like that's really cool. That's what the internet's for.
That's the thing. I know there's this attitude that I've heard from a number of folks that, they're talking about millennials, they're talking about young folks, and that they don't like to be advertised to. They're too cynical. It's hard to bring them into the workforce, hard to sell to them. Varying degrees of validity and all of that. But one of the things that people miss is that young people love to be advertised to. Everyone loves to be advertised to, but it just changes how they want to be advertised to. For young folks especially, and we see this with the rise of social media and how the trends have kind of formed, it's that people like stories.
Yeah.
People love that authentic feel, even if it's not actually authentic, but it's got the authentic look. It's got the effective feel. That's why user-generated content, which are just commercials that people are filming on their iPhones, do so well these days. It's not because they're especially well-produced. It's not because they have a better message than anything else. It's the fact that it's a story. It's about experience.
Yeah, that is very much why I love YouTube, is that it is very story-based. I go there to listen to other people's story. And even applying like that storytelling to selling a service, working with Shada Bahrami at Meza Seattle, what's really the most interesting thing is that there are a lot of stories that can be told about food. There's also ways of showcasing food so that it's also appealing aesthetically, but also helping people understand about the services that this business offers. And so you have things where it's like, I think the biggest challenge when consulting the founder is how do you make content so it doesn't borrow too much of the founder's time?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I would love to just have, a whole week where she can just tell stories and like we document it in the kitchen and cook and all these like amazing things that can be done. But it's like, okay, then what? Like you have all this footage, you have all these stories, you have all this content. Well, how do you actually put a strategy to it? And I think that is something that through my experience, there isn't like one strategy that works. It's just being consistent. Like it's literally just posting, even if you feel it's bad or you feel like it's not like the quality you're going for. It's just posting, because you never know what's going to be the thing that just either gets you the right attention or helps you meet the next person who's going to help you. And I think that's, if I could do anything different with like my own career, it's just post more, document more, share more. And I mean, I'm already online for business, so the thought of posting even more is just a little too much. So I've definitely had to find my balance in my own personal brand building and then the work that I do professionally. And I feel like now I'm at a new stage in like my career and my life where it's like now I have like a story to tell. And I think that's like just a reminder to people, like, don't let the internet rush you. Like it is always going to be there. So if you need to, focus on another business or focus on a skill that you want to learn, like take that time, because that is so much more important than to try to, constantly feel like you got to entertain or constantly feel like you have to show the next big thing, when really it could be just sitting and waiting and thinking and reflecting on like, all right, I tried to do this and I tried to talk about, this industry that didn't really, it worked. Like, yeah. Cause I was talking about like, I had like a tech and crypto and like, talking about topics that were very like, yeah, some people were into it, but not like the big mass appeal. And I do think that there was a lot that I learned very quickly when working in blockchain, that, I'll carry with me for like forever, as far as like how to build a community, how to build hype, how to like educate people and get people to buy in. Like that I learned that very quickly on like things that are very finance related, which, you know, the top three, I guess, categories in content are like, you know, health, wealth, and finance. Like any of those, like people are always going to want to consume. But getting back to like, you know, not letting the internet rush you, I think part of building a personal brand is that it is personal. So if sharing stories about your journey is not something you're into, good luck trying to build a personal brand. But I think that's kind of where you're seeing a lot more people be more transparent and document their story, or they're really diving into like the whole cinematography of making content. I think that's where you're really going to start seeing like, and people have always been saying this, like YouTube is the new TV. Yeah. I very much believe that, because even now, like being able to film this whole show, it's like, you know, you would have to wait years to get picked up by a broadcast station. Now it's like you can invest in your own production and actually go film it. At this point, I'm like, why not anybody try to do that? Whether it's you starting with your iPhone in front of a big window versus like investing in the gear. Now's the time to do it. Like this is the time to experiment with it, and you never know where it could go. And I think that's probably the biggest thing to coach people through is like that experience of like, how do you take on that risk of like making content and see a reward, or at least understand what should you be measuring at the stage that you're at. And that's where like, you know, consulting people really helps them put it in a realistic way for them, which, you know, I feel like every day I log on social media, it's like I'm watching everybody who is really great at their job, like excel and like get all the A pluses, get all the extra credit. And I'm like, here I am just like, all right, I'm just going to post today and like see where it goes. But I think that's the fun thing, is that there's so many scales of people that have different skill level at this, that it's pretty much like you can get better. You can improve if this is something you really want to do.
I don't think I ever feel worse about myself than when I see other like real substantial videography crews going out to shoot and they have all this amazing equipment. I'm like, man, I can't do that yet.
Yeah. It can get it to you sometimes, but I think the biggest thing that I have really focused on now is like getting really good at iPhone cinematography and just like maxing out how much my iPhone can do before I buy that next piece of gear. Cause I used to have shelves of camera gear and like all this like stuff when it came to production. Yet I realized that a lot of people were hiring me to do iPhone photography or iPhone videography. I even shot with like a film camera for a while. So it's like all this high tech that I had, it really started where it was just like my friends were just hiring me to film like them running their businesses. And so after a while I realized, I was like, what if I just were to offer like iPhone videography for people, or hey, I want to come hang out with you while you're working and like film you doing this so you can tell that story of what you do. And so really looking at like iPhones is a great place to start. I mean, the best camera is the one you always have on you. So I mean, a lot of people I think could get started with like their iPhone and just get comfortable talking to the camera. Like that is the first skill. So I should say no amount of camera gear is going to like outperform that. Like you have to get good at talking on camera. So, you know, I think that too, I've realized is that some people are really good in like A/B conversations. So like the podcast style, versus some people are really good at just camera in the room by themselves, just talking. So I think really helping people kind of find like where they feel the most themselves talking, you can always improve past that. So
yeah, it's a real skill when they can just talk to the camera.
Yeah, and that takes practice.
It
like
does.
Oh gosh, I have so much like footage of me when I first got started that will never be released or is hidden somewhere on my hard drive. But you know, it reminds me that this is a skill. Yeah. And I think that is something that I am thankful that I have this skill. I see that other people, you know, reward me and pay me to do this and talk on camera or like help them get good on camera. But you know, I always remind people that feel intimidated by it, or they're like, oh, I'm not a public speaker, or like, oh, I could never like do that. I just remind them like, I didn't think I could do this either. I simply just saw someone else doing it that I admired and liked what they had to say, and just kept practicing and kept being really bad for a while until finally I was better. And then someone's like, hey, can you come do that here? Yeah. And I think that's kind of like keeping life simple is like, just do the thing that you want to be doing and keep doing it until you actually get better, where people start inviting you places or wanting you to help or like paying you to do it. And then that's when it works. Like, it doesn't need to be you don't, I should say, you don't have to spend that much time having it not work. If you're struggling with making content, talk to a consultant. If you're trying to get better at being on camera, go to a local acting school. Like, there's so many resources to help you be comfortable with speaking. Like, it's amazing now. Like, it's now like the skill that everybody wants to get better at, communicating and speaking, which is honestly great. I love that. I love that people are trying to get better at communicating, which is inherently also very complex. But I'm glad that people are like, how do I take all of my thoughts and years of experience and put it in a 15-second reel or put it on a 30-minute video? And I think that's like really impressive to be a part of right now.
Yeah, I remember Winston Churchill. He had, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was to that effect, where if there was one skill that's absolutely critical, it's effectively charisma. It's how you talk to people. It's the way that you communicate to them, to the point where you can insult them and they walk away pleased.
Yeah, that's it is a skill to develop. And like, I also think too that outside of developing that skill, you also need to be in the right environment. And I definitely can look back on like all the either different businesses that I've tried, all the different industries that I tried to be in, and just like cringe at some point to be like, oh man, I was so awkward. I was so shy, or like, man, I really didn't know how to like learn that fast enough to like execute on it. And it's good to know where your limits are when it comes to like, I guess, skill building.
Yeah.
But I think the best part is that now having this like chef apprenticeship and like cooking and like entertaining folks and like hosting the events, it really just aligns with like every single thing I've learned like in the past, which is just amazing to think about on, how to sustain a content creator business. It's like, outside of making content, I realized that I also needed like something else to like anchor why I'm making content. Because for a while I was just consulting people on like very meta and like, here's how to make a video, and I'm online making content, making a video. And after a while I was like, this is too much. I need to like get back to like the people side, like actually helping people, bringing people together, hosting community, building community. Because that's the whole point. That's the whole reason why I started to be online, was to find community. And then eventually it made its way into the real world of like actually being in a city to build a community. So,
I can make money off this.
Yeah, that too. Community or memberships are like a really, they're very much a very good business model. And I think there was I'm trying to think of a book that I read. I'll think of it. I'll talk about or bring up like books and stuff if you have any questions about that. But like, yeah, there's definitely a few books out there. I think it's I should say, I know it's the topic about Netflix. Like, it's about, I forget the title of the book, but there's a book about Netflix and it talks about how the membership model was developed. And it's a really great book because it talks about how memberships are a business model and how to build them successfully. And like, Netflix is one of the biggest subscription like model, even though it's not like a social network, it's a huge subscription model. And so it's, it's about the term forever purchase. And, I hope that is something that content, as it evolves people's businesses, that they do find their forever purchase, or they find their evergreen content that they know that they can make this content, they can run an ad behind it, or just talk about this topic, and it just continually grows their business. So, that's a sweet spot for a consultant to help somebody find that.
No, absolutely. Well, Alex, I think that's been our time, though.
Excellent.
So thank you for joining me today. Where can people find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn as Alex Hutchi, and I'm also on YouTube as Homestead Hutch.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to come back, because Alex is going to come around for another episode. I think next time we're going to talk about your industry and maybe some of the strategies that come as a part of media consulting.
Excellent. Sounds great.
Cool. All right. Well, you heard it here. We'll see you later, folks. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.